Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jeni Simas, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
Hello, my lovelies, and Merry Christmas. Hopefully I can get through recording this entire episode without another urgent call. I am hoping that third time is the charm. We are having some interesting stuff going on, and holidays bring people going to spaces that they don't usually go to, and I have a son with nonverbal and what's the word that they're using now? Profound autism. And he decided to make a snack of the kitty litter box at someone's house. And my daughter has horrible anxiety about stomach stuff. So it has been an interesting day. They will be back to me tomorrow, and we'll see how the rest of winter break goes. Today we are exploring the myths and stories and lies surrounding the great sexpectations of online dating. Basically, I came up with the idea for this episode after talking to a few guys who had gone on dates and then had expected sex after a certain amount of money had been spent and after a certain number of hours had been invested in said woman or women that they had been, canoodling with or talking to online. And it got me to wondering, like, how many women are dealing with this and what are the norms, the social norms that we came up with, kind of understanding as like, what makes you a slut? What makes you a prude as it comes to when is it okay to have sex when you met someone through an online dating app? Now, the general rule that I found online for every kind of dating was 3 dates. And where does that rule come from? You're probably either going to guess immediately or have no idea why the fuck it's relevant. It's from Sex and the City. So basically, Sex and the City came out when I was a teenager, I think, maybe a little after. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 97, 98, something like that. And there was this one episode where they discussed that after the third date, you're either, having sex or you're done dating that person. God, I have such a problem with this. I have such a problem with this. I have such a problem with the input that I got from the men. And I have a big problem with the response that I got from the women that I asked about this, who have actually felt obligated to have sex based on either the number of dates, the amount of money spent, or the hours spent. I know that we have talked before, or you've heard before, about how I was married for several years, and obviously it didn't work out. I have 2 beautiful children from that marriage, and after losing that marriage, I discovered so much about myself and how much of myself I had given up in that marriage, that I have to be grateful for the way that it ended, and that it gave me this chance to, grow and change and really be able to focus on what I wanted. So when I entered the online dating scene, I had actually had almost 2 years from when my marriage had ended until I got to the point that I actually downloaded an app. And when I did download the app, I had a few, you know, I guess, exchanges with men that were mostly sexting and that were highly, like, not, I'm trying to think of what the right word would be. Like, I guess I wasn't really invested. Like, I wasn't invested. If this guy never texted me again, I would not cry. Oh my God, the weekend. I totally forgot about the weekend. There was this one dude that looked exactly like the fucking weekend who was messaging back and forth with me. And it was, oh, you like music, you like this. Oh, you're so interesting. Oh, I know you're a little older, but I'm kind of into that, blah, blah, blah. Well, then I had to drive to North Carolina and ended up getting to North Carolina and like kind of crashing at my friend's house, and I didn't pay attention to my phone like on the drive other than to like text my kids and tell them where I was because I was coming to pick them up. So like crashing, going to bed, getting up the next morning. So probably like a good, I don't know, 14 hours I didn't really pay attention to my phone, which is apparently when the weekend was messaging me over and over and over again on this app. And like I said, I only looked at my phone like for the GPS and to text my kids. So I didn't know. And he lost his fucking mind. Like he texted so many times on this app, like, where are you? Oh, this is how you do me. Oh, you ghost me, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're an immature bitch. Like, all this shit for 14 hours. And I tried to reach out and say, hey, man, like, I didn't look at my phone. Like, I legit, like, I did not look at my phone for anything other than these two things for 14 hours. Like, I just didn't. Like, I didn't check my social media. Like, I did nothing because I was exhausted, motherfucker. And I don't know if he had already blocked me on the app or what, but I never heard from him again. So, other than that, it was really low stakes with everyone except for the guy I ended up, moving in with and I'm going to marry. So I I didn't have like high expectations for dating. Um, Really, for me, the dating was happening in the conversations that I was having with these men online or by text or by phone. And when it came down to it, when I met Zach, like he was it, I stopped talking to the other ones. And we ended up talking, on the phone, by text, video calls, constantly for weeks, constantly, um, to the point that it felt like we had already been on like a bunch of dates. Like in my mind, I felt like we had already done that, but we hadn't. So, quite technically, we had sex on our first date. Um, and I suppose that makes me a hoe. Mm, oh, darn. Um, we actually didn't have like a date, like a traditional date, until we'd already slept together like a few times. So I guess we're the exception, not the rule. um, but I just feel like there's so many of these myths, so many of these sexpectations thrown at people who are already in this really stressful situation of navigating online dating, right? And I also feel like I want to say something to the men, and I don't want to hurt their fragile egos, like I don't. But I want you to know that if you are adding up the dollars And if you are adding up the hours and that equals sex to you, then you don't want to date. You want to hire a sex worker. And I think that that is a fantastic alternative. I think that that's what you should do if all you are doing is trying to have a transaction where there is money spent and then you get laid. Sex workers exist. They deserve money for their work and they do excellent work. So, I have this as advice for the women on the other side of those dudes saying, well, I've already taken her on, 5, 10 dates, whatever. I mean, I'm looking at my bank account and, Honey Lama has spent like $700, $800, $1,000 of my money already. It's like, no, sir. That is not what happened. You went out and you spent time with someone trying to get to know someone to see if that is a someone that you would like to spend more time with and be more engaged with and become more intimate with. If you are seeing it as I spent this much money and time and where the fuck is my, dick suck? Where is my fuck? Where is my, getting laid? Then you, sir, are looking for sex work. And I think that now that you know that, you should stop trying to be dating. You should get off of them dating apps. Because I think that the reason that the men outnumber the women so hardcore on those dating sites is because half of you are really just looking for a sex worker. You're not looking for a relationship. Now, I got a little sidetracked there. But for the women who are hearing things like that, I want you to feel absolutely fucking secure in the fact that you can tell a motherfucker, go find yourself a sex worker. I want you to practice saying that in the mirror before you go on that third date, that fifth date, whatever it is that society has knocked into your mind as the, oh shit, this is the I better fuck him date. Or, oh God, I wasted his time if I don't fuck him on this date. Screw all that. Screw all of that. If you don't feel like you want to, if you are not consenting without or beyond a shadow of a doubt, then no. And you can absolutely say, like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you thought that this was tit for tat, that you were going to pay a certain amount of money, and that meant I was going to open my legs and let you in. Oh, shit. I did not know that was a thing that was going to happen. Here's what's up. I know this woman who has a podcast who knows a bunch of sex workers. You should totally look her up and ask her where you can find one. Because I would gladly help them if that meant that you didn't feel like you had to put out on a date when you didn't want to. Because nobody should feel like that. Now, according to Quora, and I know, like, I'm pulling random things off the internet right now. According to Quora, it is okay to have sex at any point when you are dating, as long as the person is HIV negative, not suffering from other STIs, and they're not a rapist or a murderer. Cool. How are you supposed to know those things when it's somebody that you've just started dating? Here in Maryland, I will tell you there is a website called Case Search, and that's what I used. Every guy that I interacted with online, I looked up on Case Search. Now, granted, that'll only show you if they got caught, and if they're not using a fake name. So that cuts out the rapist murderer part, I would hope for a lot of percent. As far as the STIs go, I would highly recommend that you exchange that information before you get into any kind of sex play. But I also believe that after people get to a certain age, there is a bit of an understanding that running the risk of getting something is, oh God, I'm trying to remember what the book is on that. Oh, crap. It's going to hurt me. I'm going to have to look it up. There's a book that I read, Strange Bedfellows. I have to find it, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But the author talks about how she was a researcher about STIs and how STIs are the cost of doing business if you are dating. I don't want you to run out and get an STI. But at the same time, I want you to be a person who's not afraid to talk about it. I hope that, as you move through this online dating world, you gain like confidence in your own knowledge and what you're allowed to ask for and what you're, expected to do. And you take what you want from those lists. But I hope that your confidence in standing up for you and your health and your well-being are already kind of baked in before you start going online. I was nowhere near perfect. I promise you, and I still am nowhere near perfect. But I was nowhere near perfect when I got on the dating sites. But I did have in mind what I was going to do and what I was not going to do, what I was going to accept and what I would never accept again. And I just feel like there's so much pressure, or there's so much expectation that if you have sex too early, you are garbage. If you have sex too late, you are a nun and you are never going to find someone because you wouldn't put out when they had already shelled out all this money. I just think both ends of the spectrum are pretty ridiculous. And I want to be a person who tells you, like, I have a huge problem with like this transactional idea. I think that it is appropriate when you are upfront that you are paying somebody for services. And I think that there's this thought that, I guess here's my thought on it. It doesn't matter if it's the first date, the 10th date, the 30th date, whatever. As long as everyone involved is on board, as long as both of you understand that there is consent that can be withdrawn at any time, as long as both of you are into it, as long as both of you have talked about the risks that could be attached to it, then you're consenting adults. And you do it when you do it. And you don't have to follow some weird fucking rule that showed up on the internet from a TV show. Like that drives me insane. So I hope that this cleared up a little bit. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit there. Like I said, it's been a weird day. But yeah, I do hope that if you are in this dating world and you have felt pressure to perform, or if you have felt like you were going to be doing the wrong thing if you didn't, or you did have sex at a certain point in this dating journey that you're on, I hope that this kind of took some of the pressure off and let you know that it's totally fine to not have any sexpectations, let alone great ones. All right. I'm still playing around with what I want to say at the end of these episodes. I want everybody to be kind, stay curious, and find the magic within yourselves. Have a wonderful Christmas, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.